So you're just discarded by a narcissist. What do you do now? What do you do? Well, if you're unfamiliar, first of all, if you're unfamiliar with what a narcissistic discard is, if you've just been, if you've just had a relationship that's abruptly ended with a narcissist and you found yourself on this video, congratulations, because I'm going to break down exactly what happened, right? So the narcissistic discard, it's a process in the, I guess you could say, the life cycle of a narcissistic relationship. I think it was proposed by a Professor Vaknin. He was a pioneer in a lot of narcissistic dynamics. Anyways, so when a relationship with a narcissist first starts, and you can probably relate to this, just listen as you go on, and you probably pick up a lot of similarities, because with narcissists, they're all the same. They all follow the same playbook. It's all the same psychology with very minor variances. So number one, when you get into a relationship with a narcissist, right, they're going to go through 3 distinct phases throughout the life cycle of the relationship, and they can repeat this multiple times. So number 1 is the idolization phase. Number 2 is the devaluation phase, and number 3 is the discard phase, which oftentimes is not final, though you wish it would be. All right, so the idealized phase is when you first meet them, you find them the most charming person, right? Maybe you're taken by their looks, the way they carry themselves, the way they present, how much you have in common with them. And slowly over time, when they realize you can't really meet their needs, because these are typically very hollow people, they don't have much to offer, which is why they typically go after more, I hate the word, the empathetic type, but they usually go after people with something to offer them emotionally. That's why they refer to it as narcissistic supply. From there, you'll slowly move into a devaluation stage. So this is often after 3-4 months of seeing them, you'll start to see the cracks. You'll see their mask drop. Maybe you said something and then they took it really wrong, but then you're not given an opportunity to correct it. Maybe you said something small, could be the way they looked, could be something very minor that doesn't even cross the mind of a normal person. And from there, you move into a discard. A discard is typically done, it doesn't have to be late into it. It could happen very quick, happen very late, depending on how good of a supplier you were. But a discard is very abrupt from the perspective of the person that's with the narcissist. So you're on your end. So discarding it's a very, very harsh tactic that narcissists use, either for many reasons, but the most common reason is, number 1, they're trying to regain control of the situation. Number 2, they're bored of you. Number 3, they have someone else lined up and they're trying to manufacture an exit, which is very common. And there's a million reasons why someone would discard you. But it's a very, very harsh tactic that narcissists use. And if you've been on the receiving end of this, you have my condolences, because it's a very shitty thing to go through. Because if you've been attached to a narcissist for a number of months or even years, which happens to a lot of people, you might find that you don't know who you are. Where do you move from here? What just happened? What the fuck just happened? This was seemingly fine. And what it feels like very fast, it's a very fast discard, where you might just wake up one day. This is what happened to me. You might just wake up one day, maybe you have a little argument, and then they're blocking you and deleting you off everything, which this happened to me, and I'll go into my story maybe in another video, or maybe in this video, we'll see. But number 1, I want you to understand that it's not your fault. There's nothing you could have done. Once the moment you met this narcissist, you were destined to have this moment. You just didn't know it at the time. Maybe you thought you met the perfect person. Like I said, they're very charming people. They're very attractive people. Typically, they take care of their appearance. So maybe you were taken by, a combination of how they treated you, how they looked, the fact that you seem to have so much in common. It's all bullshit. It's whether they were conscious of it or not. Some are conscious, some aren't. They typically mirror their partners to establish a fast connection, which is known as love bombing. When you're in the love bombing stage, which is the idealized phase, you will go through you'll go through a feeling, you'll go through a period of intense emotion, a lot of like fast connection, almost too fast, almost too good to be true. And you're wondering what's going on. Like a part of you is saying, hey, this feels a bit strange. Another part is like, I just met the most amazing person of my life. Slowly over time, you'll see cracks of their mask, which is the only way to put it, which it's essentially a mask that they wear to sort of lure victims in. And keep in mind, a lot of this is not conscious. This is their programming. It's the way they survive. So narcissists, like I said, they're very hollow people. They think of them as emotional vampires. Their main goal is to extract as much good feeling supply out of you as they can. And that could come in the form of emotional reassurance, financial, maybe you boost their career, anything that they can get out of you. Maybe, and that's not to say they didn't genuinely like you. That's not what I'm saying here. A lot of narcissists, that's what keeps you in the relationship, because there are fleeting moments of real intimacy, right? But for a lot of that time, you're often, and if you've come from a particularly abusive narcissistic dynamic, you might find you were constantly having to constantly thinking, like, where are they? Like, they don't seem to always tell me their whereabouts. Or why do they keep mentioning another person that they met? Maybe they're really overtly sexual with their comments about other people. And these small things add up. And the problem is, they sort of get you with this. You dismiss it because you think, oh, that's just them. You start making excuses for them because they formed such a quick connection. Your mind is you sort of become enmeshed with the person, and you start rationalizing things in their favor. From there, this is where it gets dangerous. Once they've roped you in, you enter a devaluation stage. So a devaluation stage typically consists of, petty arguments like, hey, you don't do anything for me, even though you might do so much for them. You might be their emotional sponge. You might take them on trips. You might just take care of them in many different ways, right? Because on a healthy relationship, you just communicate, right? You just say, hey, I want this from you. I don't seem to be getting it. And you sort of, you come to a conclusion. It's not you against them, but not for narcissists, right? Hold on. Need a sip of my tea. And so not for narcissists, right? Nothing's ever good enough for them. So then you move into the discard phase. So the discard phase is very brutal, right? And it's a bit nuanced because it's not always a final thing. Especially in my particular scenario, I think it went back and forth about 4 times before there was a final discard, which what I assume is final now. You never know, because sometimes they hoover you. A hoovering is when they sort of, they'll send you a bait back. Anyways, yeah, so discarding, it's very brutal. They'll typically do it it can be very random. It can catch you off guard. It can come as a message, typically as a message, because they will never really confront you with it, because they're cowards. And then, you're left to fend for yourself. You're suddenly reeling from the loss of a relationship that you thought was mostly okay. You thought you could work through everything, which is not the case of narcissists. They don't like to work things out. So if you're going through this right now, and I plan to make a lot of videos on this is a very summarized version of the process. But if you're going through this right now, I want you to realize a few things. Just from the top of my head, it wasn't your fault. That's number one. There was nothing you could do. This was destined. As you met them, it was destined. No matter how good it felt at the time, there is nothing you could have done to keep that person there. Just let that sink in. This is not bullshit. This is not pseudopsychology. This is part of the narcissist framework. This is how they think. It's never permanent of a narcissist. It's very transient. Like it's come and go. Number 2 is, lost my train of thought. Number 2 is when they sort of, part of the discard is creating a reason to get out. You might be feeling like, what the fuck? That was just really over the top for what just happened. Because a lot of the time their reaction to whatever caused the discard, which they were hoping for, was disproportionate to what actually happened. Maybe you had a small petty argument and they'll say, fuck you, you're useless, I never want to see you again. Which is very difficult to grasp when you first, cop that from them. It's such a difficult thing because part of the enmeshment is a lot of your identity gets diluted over the life cycle of the relationship. You become it's like imagine you were this cup of tea, right? And suddenly someone just poured liters and liters of water and the color gets lost and your identity was the color. That's the best analogy I can give right now. But that's sort of what happened to your identity throughout the relationship. It became diluted and you lose your sense of self. And they're all about preservation. They have no identity as well. So they just seemingly get off scot-free. And that leads me into my third point is you'll embrace yourself for this. They will be posting on social media about how happy they are. And you might wonder, is this genuine happiness? Short answer, no. Short answer, yes, sorry. Long answer, no. And I'll go into that. So they're happy in the sense that they're feeling a sense of relief, similar to how avoidants feel when they leave a relationship. If they're an avoidant narc, they're a special kind of beast. But for the most part, the happiness they experience is very hollow as well. It's very, it's not as solid as you may think. They will still think about you at times as well. They'll think about you, they'll ruminate about you, but that comes later because they're experts at compartmentalizing the whole relationship. They'll demonize you. So you might be seeing a lot of happy posts. Maybe they're going to the gym. Maybe they have a new partner. Maybe they're being very public with how good they feel. They'll often reconstruct their identity as well. Typically, all this happens in a final discard. And the opposite would be typically with a soft discard. They could still have supply lined up. They're always hedging their bets, But for the most part, soft discards they're temporary. They can range from, days to weeks. A lot of my soft discards were, 1 week to 4 weeks. I'm currently in a no contact phase and I want it to stay that way with my narcissist ex, who it's been about coming on 4 months, right? It's coming on 4 months. So I was just getting a call then. And this one felt final because it was a very abrupt discard, and you can sort of get the feeling for it. But when I say permanent, I don't mean, when I say a final discard, I mean a long-term discard because they never truly leave. They will think about their partners till the day they die. If you were significant enough, that is. I'm not talking about a 1 month, 2 month relationship. I'm talking about a bond, like a real bond. So anything over even 6 months is enough to form that connection if you're really connected. So they will still think about you, but you'll never know. You'll never know. They'll continue to perform on social media. It can be very hurtful to see. And number 4, before I leave you, I'm going to make plenty of videos on this. So please tell me what you want to see. Tell me about your narcissistic experience. Number 4 is don't seek closure from them. You will not get the answer you want. In fact, it might make things worse. They might even ignore you. If it's a true final discard, they might even ignore you. They might rub it in your face if they're more grandiose. If they're more covert, they're probably going to go the more avoidance route because they can't confront those uncomfortable emotions. There's no such thing as closure, by the way. That's not to say you don't seek your own closure, but do not get it from them. You're not going to get the magical paragraph that solves everything in your brain. You're going to take some time to rebuild your identity, which is actually my final point. You need to start living life again. As hard as it is, do not wait. Time heals with the right actions. So what does that look like? Keep going to the gym. If that's one of my hobbies. Keep going to the gym. Keep doing the things that you like, reading, but also pick up new hobbies. Try and construct a new identity for yourself, but you do it for yourself. You don't do it for them. You don't want to, nothing should be performative. Leave that to the narcissist. I'll leave you here for now. This video went way longer than I thought it would. But tell me below what you want to see. We'll cover everything narcissists. everything BPD. And yeah, subscribe if this helped you.